All right, guys, in this episode, if you are a property owner and you're thinking about listing your home, putting your home on the market this year, whether it's your primary residence, whether it's a secondary home, whether it's your vacation home, I'm going to talk to you in this episode the 5 mistakes I see sellers making all the time, especially in this market in 2025, that's causing their homes either not to sell or to sell for less, a lot less than they anticipated. So if you guys are thinking about putting your house on the market this year, maybe you already have your house on the market this year and you have some struggles with getting offers, this episode is going to be for you. We're going to talk about, again, the top 5 things I see that sellers make as a mistake when selling their property. So if you guys have a home and you're looking to sell or you already have it on the market, then we're going to get after that right now. All right, guys, welcome back to the channel here at Live Life in Maine. As usual, my name is Scott Tebow. If you haven't seen any of my other videos, I've been doing this now for quite a while. I try to educate and inform people here in Maine, specifically what the housing market is doing and some tips and tricks on what it takes to buy, sell, or invest here in Maine. Again, Scott Tebow. I'm a realtor broker with eXp Realty. I've been doing this for quite a while, guys. I got licensed in 2013, so I've been a licensed realtor since 2013. What's that? 12 years now. But I've also, prior to that, I've been involved in real estate really since 2000, either buying, flipping, developing. I've owned multiple properties. I've sold multiple properties. I own some businesses right now. I own some commercial properties. So it's not my first foray into real estate, or at least 2013 was not my first introduction to real estate. And there is a lot you have to learn as an agent when you're in this industry, and not all agents are equal. So guys, more importantly than that, I say this every episode. I'm a husband. I'm a father of 5. I'm a grandfather now of 3. I'm a veteran. I'm a patriot, and I'm a son of Maine. What does that mean? Somebody was born and raised here. I was born in 1967. Yes, that makes me 57 years old. I say that because I think the older you are, the more experience you have, especially in this game, in this industry, as it changes so fast, and staying up to date on the laws and stuff like that. But being a son of Maine means I was born and raised here. And I've lived here almost my entire life. Actually, I left right out of high school for about 10 years. A lot of that was in the military. I came back in the mid-90s, and I've been back ever since. So guys, without enough about me, let's talk about you. And if you're looking to sell, what are the top 5 mistakes I see every day from sellers, i.e. their brokers or their agents selling a house? And the numbers bear the facts out. So here we go. Top 5 things that I see sellers having a problem with. Number 1, it's kind of obvious, and that is price, right? Intelligent pricing and timing. So right now, I just did these statistics for York County only, and I bet they would hold true for the entire state if I did every county. But I just did this county, York County, the county that I live in, the first county you come into in the state of Maine. And it's actually the fastest growing county in terms of homes. We are second in terms of home pricing behind Cumberland County, which is the next county up where Portland is. But I just ran the statistic on York County. Right now in York County, and this episode is being filmed the middle of June, there are 597 active listings on the market. These are single-family homes only, guys. Whether they're your primary residence, your secondary residence, or vacation home, there's 597 homes right now listed on the MLS. And of those 597, 222 of them have had what we call price improvements, or what they're really saying is price reductions. Now that's 37% of the homes that are currently listed on the market right now have had price improvements of 37% of them. So that's 222 out of 597. Not quite half, but if you're putting your house on the market, good chance that you may be one of three that maybe your house is going to be in a price reduction or a price improvement if your house is on the market right now, I meant to say. And if you're putting your house on the market, just be cognizant of that. 1 out of 3 homes right now, a little bit over 1 out of 3 homes are having their prices reduced. That's a pretty glaring statistic, but this one is even more glaring, guys. And this is where the rubber meets the road. I ran a report since January 1st of 2025, again, just for York County. I wanted to see how many houses, what their list price started at, and what they sold for, how many of those houses sold at or above their asking price, original asking price. So, January 2025, 838 homes in York County has sold since January 1st, 2025. And again, this is through today, June 16th. Sold, in other words, of those 838, how many of them sold for less than what their original list price was from January 1st, 2025? It's a whopping 695. So out of 838 homes, guys, 695 of them have had price reduction, which means 82.9, really 83% of all houses in York County that have been put on the market since January 1st, 2025 and has sold have had their price reduction or have sold for less. That's 8 out of 10, guys. So if your house is on the market and you're not getting some offers, this could be one of the reasons, right? Your pricing is wrong. So just remember that. And if you're going to put your house on the market, be cognizant of how you're going to price it with your agent. Because again, 8 out of 10 houses right now, at least for the first half of this year, have sold for less than they originally asked for. So why is that? Why are houses selling for less? I believe there's really one reason why houses are selling for less, or selling for less than what they originally listed, because they're not selling for less. The market has continued to appreciate. I just did a video on the market, and in York County, it's grown, right? But why are houses being sold for less than what they originally listed for? It's really intelligent pricing, right? So I want you guys to understand this if you're a seller. If I get it, you think you want top dollar for your house, you think your house is worth a lot of money, and it may be. I'm not saying that it isn't, but what you need to understand is you really need to understand the market, and your agent should be able to do this for you. And if they can't, then be cognizant of the type of agents you choose to sell your homes. Because yes, it is one thing to get comparable listings, and that's important. However, no house is the same. You could have a house right across the street. Your neighbor's house could have sold for the same price that you're asking, and it could have sold last month. But that doesn't mean your house is going to sell for the same price this month. Like I said, no two houses are the same, so that house could have different benefits to it. Could have a bigger yard, could have a smaller yard, could have some things have been redone or refinished, or not redone or refinished inside. And your house might have better amenities than that house. It might have different factors that house has inside versus out. No house is the same. So it's important to get comparables, but it's also important. This is what I train my team with and our agents here. We not only do comparables, but we kind of like appraising. When you have an appraiser go out there, they're going to look at comparables, and then they're going to have to make additions and subtractions to the subject property, which is the house that they're appraising, which would be yours if you had an appraisal compared to that property, because they can't just say, okay, this house sold for $500,000, so the exact same house is yours, and therefore I'm going to sell yours. Yours is going to appraise at $500,000. It doesn't work that way. They may have added things to the house, and they may have taken away things to the house. Their backyard may be in better shape. Their backyard may be in worse shape. They may have, put in systems like a generation system or a Generac system where you don't. It all depends. So we are really good and well-versed on making sure not only do we have the comps that are going to justify the price that we're asking, but we have the ability to add and subtract, right? Additions and subtractions to your property and make sure that when we list it, we are solid on what we believe with market data, because market data does not lie if you read it correctly, what your house is worth. And that's important because when buyers come to your home, a buyer agent isn't going to know everything that you as the listing agent or you as the seller knows. So it's going to be very important to articulate that value to that buyer and get them to understand the value. Here's the other thing, guys, with prices, the homes that are overpriced. And this is just the psychology of sales. Would you rather have, and I've said this before in other videos, would you rather have buyers reaching for a price for a home that they think may be overpriced versus looking at a home and saying, oh, this house is very well priced and I think there's going to be competition, so then they're going to automatically reach to try to provide the best price, right? The reality is, if you put your house in the market and you don't have good market data and you don't have an agent that is really good at that and understands that area, and they don't even have to understand the area, honestly, because the market data is going to dictate really what's going on in that market. And if they understand the market data really well, they can sell anywhere, right? But if you have an agent that doesn't understand that and they put your house, let's say your house is worth, I'm just going to use easy numbers, $500, but you want $550 because you just really emotionally believe that it's $550. And you convince your agent that it's $550 and it doesn't move. It's because you are trying to sell a house where people are trying to reach for the price. And when they try to reach for a price that they already think it might be overpriced, they're going to stop picking apart that property. It's just the way it is, guys. They're going to start picking apart any little defect you're going to have in the product because they're trying to justify, in their brain why the house isn't worth $550. So if they make an offer, they're going to have reasons why it's not worth $550. And they may even explain that to your listing agent, but they're going to have that. Versus if you have a house that's intelligently priced. I'm going to throw up on the screen right now. What happens when you have a house that's intelligently priced? I'm going to take this off my cheat notes right here. Percentage of buyers. When you get a house that's priced at the right price, you get 50% of the buyers out there that are looking for homes in that price range, you're going to get attention to. Versus if you go up 10%, you're going to get 30% of those buyers. And if you go up like 15% or above, you're only going to get like 10% of those buyers. Conversely, if you're down below what they think the value is, you're going to get 75% of those buyers. And that's 10% below. And if you're 15% below what you think the value is, what your agent and you have agreed to what the value is based upon comps and subtractions and additions to like properties, you're going to get 90% of the buyers. So competition is a good thing. But if you put your house way up here, you're only getting 1 out of 10 buyers versus if you put your house in the middle, you're getting 5 out of 10. If you lower it below a little bit of asking price, a little bit of what you both believe the house is worth, once you do your market study and once you do your data and once you do your additions and subtractions, you could get 9 out of 10 buyers. So what does that automatically do for your house? The more people that are bidding on your house, the price is going to get driven up. The less people that are bidding on your house, the price is going to get driven down because it's less competition. It's supply and demand. So I would encourage you guys, sellers and agents out there who are representing their sellers, do not price your homes higher than what you really think it can be sold for. And don't let the seller don't do this. Don't convince your listing agents that it's worth so much more if it isn't. If they can produce the data, the market, the numbers that show why your house is not worth a certain number. And if they can, and you can agree with that, you might not like it. I call it cough syrup, right? Talking to a listing agent, sometimes what they're going to tell you, if they're honest with you, is going to be hard to swallow because it's like cough syrup. It doesn't taste very good going down, but it surely fixes the problem. And you just got to have a little bit of belief, because what will happen is you'll have multiple offers and those offers will drive the price up. The buyers will do it to themselves just organically without you having to do that for them, without you limiting the number of buyers in your market because you've priced the house too high, and they're going to drive that price up higher. So you should actually look at that statistic, guys, and those studies, and your agent should be able to produce that for you. So number one reason why houses don't sell as fast as they should, even in an appreciating market, is because, which is common sense, your house is priced too high. And I just gave you guys the numbers. 222 out of 597 single family homes that are on the market right now. And this is just your county. If you want another county, send me a text, create a comment. I can do it real quick for you. If you want another county, I'll give you that numbers. But 37% of those homes that are currently listed on the market right now have already had price reductions. And the more glaring fact, just to repeat, is since January 1st of 2025, of the 838 homes that have been sold in York County, 695 of them sold for less. 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 20, 30%. I didn't get into that. Sold for less than what the original asking price was, which is 82.9%, really 83%. 8 out of 10 homes are selling for less than the original asking price. That tells me that the agents are not doing a good enough job articulating what their homes are really worth. They're getting the listing. They're finally getting some offers. They're finally getting some buyers, and the buyers are beating you guys up as sellers saying, I want this, 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 and this, whether it's through contingencies, whether it's through just you're not getting enough offers, so becoming more desperate. It's all timing. So be careful when you're listing your house. Not all agents are equal. I'm not saying that I'm God's gift to listing homes. I'm just saying that not all agents are equal, and you really got to have an agent that is going to have an honest conversation with you. You may not hire them. I get it. I've gone into homes before. I'm not going to lie. I've gone into homes before, and I've told a couple of homeowners I don't think their house is worth what they want. They didn't hire me. That's okay, because then you know what I do? I tag their home. So when it does get listed, I tag it and I watch it till it finally sells. And guys, I can show you some of the stats. I am within 2%. Listen, I am within 2% of what the home sold for ultimately. Plus or minus 2%. I'm right around that 98 to 102% of what the home sold for. And in some cases, there was one house, it took 9 months to sell and they dropped it. By the time it sold, $70,000. And they actually ended up selling it for a little bit less than I thought it was worth. Whereas if they would have gone with me and put it on the market at that price, a little bit less than the $70,000 deduction that they had, maybe it would have been, I think it was like 60. I suggested the price be $68,000 less. They would have sold their house a lot quicker and probably with a lot less headache. But number one, pricing. Sorry to spend a ton of time on that, but number one is pricing. All right, number two. This is going to be a little controversial, but I'm going to say it anyways. I believe if you're going to sell your house, you should have a pre-inspection. Now, some people are going to argue with me and say, well, why am I going to do that, Scott? Why am I going to show potential buyers an inspection report? If they want the house, they can do their own inspection. Doesn't mean I have to agree with it. Just means they can do their own inspection. And if they find something they don't like, they can make a counter offer to me and I can either accept it or not. Do you want the house or do you not? I get it, right? But let me talk to you about the top 8 reasons why doing a pre-home inspection helps sell your home faster and is really good for both parties. Number 1, the transparency of a home inspection, pre-home inspection before you list it. In other words, when you put it on the market, it's already been listed and you can display that. I mean, it's already been done and you can show that. Builds transparency and trust. It demonstrates honesty and proactive. It really demonstrates honesty proactively for the buyers. That's number 1, right? It shows a buyer that you're being honest with what your house is worth, and you've already done your due diligence in case there are things you didn't know, right? Number 2, it shows that you as a seller have nothing to hide, right? It builds confidence and it kind of brings down buyers' skepticism. Because think about it. A buyer and a seller are naturally at odds. A buyer wants the highest price, best price, and highest price they can get, and the seller, and the buyer wants the lowest price that they can get, right? It's a natural conflict of interest. It's kind of like an employer-employee relationship, right? An employer is only going to pay you just enough to get you to go to work, but an employee always wants more money. So transparency builds trust. That's number 1. Number 2, fewer surprises, smoother transactions. When you know, number 1, what you're displaying, some of maybe the challenges that are going to have with the house, right? You uncover potential issues before the deal gets broken, before they go out and do a inspection report, and you've just tied up the house for two weeks, and then they come back and they say, yeah, based upon the contingency inspection, I don't want the house anymore. You're going to have less of that because you're already going to be showing some of the deficiencies that the house may already have before the buyer makes an offer. That's number 1. And number 2, it really diminishes delay in negotiations, right? The more transparent you are, the more when the buyer makes the offer, the less it's gonna slow down the transaction, right? So typically right now, most buyers are asking for a contingency period, anywhere from 7 or 14 days. Just think about this. 14 days in their business days is really almost 3 weeks. So you're taking the house off the market for 3 weeks, right? You're putting in either active under contract or pending, while a potential buyer that you've accepted their offer is doing their own due diligence and seeing if there's any issues with the property. So the house is off the market for 3 weeks. They come back to you, say, I found this, and now we don't want it. What do? Well, your listing agent's got to put it back on the market. Well, you just lost 3 weeks. Or a better scenario, but still not great, the buyer's broker comes back with what we call an inspection contingency amendment saying, we found all these issues and we want them fixed, or we want some monetary value, a number, and we will remove that. Now, where do they get that number? Most of them are just creating that number in their head or based upon experience. But unless you're a contractor or a builder or understand a lot of the challenges or a lot of the ways a house works, you're not really going to know what the cost is. So you may be leaving a lot of money on the table if somebody says, yeah, this needs to be repaired and we're going to ask for a $20,000 concession because let's just say your roof is aged and it's almost end of life and the new roof has to be put on, and they throw out some number of $20,000. And it's not a difficult roof, but it's a big roof, and you find out down the road that it would have only really cost $12,000 to do. Well, you just gave that buyer $8,000. You just left $8,000 on the table. So understanding that is important, right? Number 3, the third reason why you want to have a pre-inspection report, it gives you the ability to make strategic repairs if some are needed, right? Before you list the house, right? So if you can do this, if you can choose what to fix and what not, and you disclose it, at least when you get an offer, it's already going to be disclosed. And it's also going to say, listen, the listing agent's going to say new house on the market, new roof, whatever you did to improve it, right? It's only going to help the marketability of that house. That's number 3. Number 4, pricing accuracy. Knowing the condition up front allows for more accurate pricing and can justify asking price for property that's in strong shape, right? So if you do an inspection and it comes out very fine, very few issues, that's going to drive up marketability. That's going to drive up buyers as well. And your listing agent should be able to promote that both offline and through showings about the condition of the house, which is only going to add value and price to your home. It kind of goes without saying, if you do that, number 5, you're going to sell it faster, right? You're going to be able to have more leverage during negotiations. You're going to have a shorter time on market, kind of selling it faster. And it's really a helpful marketing tool because of the transparency. Your listing agent's going to have the ability to use it as a marketing tool. So when a buyer comes in, they're not going to be looking at what they think is a bunch of headaches. And they're going to know that the price that's being, the asking price is going to be pretty solid. There's not going to be any wiggle room because you've already gone through all that stuff, right, guys? So what I and my team do is, if you are going to sell your house and you list with us, we ask you to do depends on the house, obviously, but we're going to ask you to do a pre-inspection, and we will pay for that inspection at closing. We will credit back to you at closing the cost for that inspection. Generally, they run between $500 and $1,000, depends on the size of the house, obviously, but generally that's a good ballpark. Smaller houses are like $500, larger houses $1,000, $1,200. I at least will credit you back that at closing, take it right off the commission, right? If you can't afford to do that and you want us to do this, well, then I'll only do it if I really feel you're vested in either making repairs or being transparent about it. Then I will pay for it and ask for 50% of that back at closing. In other words, if I'm going to put the risk up, and I'm still dependent upon you in what you're going to do with that property once you find out if there are some challenges, if you're going to fix it or not, or how I can market it right, I will ask for 50% of that money back at closing that you'll pay at closing. That's the number one reason why. Number 2 reasons why homes don't sell, right? Pricing, and then doing a defects of the property and doing a pre-inspection and having that available to buyers when you go to list your property. Number 3, decluttering and curb appeal when listing your property. So there are actually 5 really strong reasons why you should declutter before you go to list, right? Number 1, it makes the space look bigger, right? Everybody wants value, bang for the buck. So the less clutter you have, the more your place looks bigger. And the more your place looks bigger, it creates a kind of focus and size that a layout seems like the right size, right? Cluttered homes feel more cramped. And most people don't want to live in cramped homes, right? And that's number 1. Number 2, it helps the buyer mentally move in, right? If they can see, without all the clutter, if they can see the natural space, things that are naturally belonging to the home, many times they can personally put themselves in a home with their own stuff, their own furniture, right? So that's number 2. Number 3, highlights features, not flaws, right? So most houses are going to have flaws. I don't care if you just built it. It's going to have a flaw, right? Decluttering draws attention to the home's best features, the wooden floors, the large windows, the built-in whatever you have, right? Rather than the distractions. Number 4, photographs show better, right? Have you ever seen, if you're online, and have you ever seen a house that looks beautiful from the outside, but then you see the inside pictures and just clutter everywhere? What is your feeling when you see that, right? What do you feel about the seller? What do you feel about that house when you see a house that's really cluttered up, right? I'm going to leave it at that. And number 5, it saves time and money later. And what do I mean by that? you're going to need to pack everything up anyway, eventually, right? So, and if you don't declutter your house, you're going to have to do it eventually. And maybe you have to go through it at that point and declutter your house. Why don't you do it before you list your house? Again, driving more value to your house, making it look bigger, features, helping the buyers highlight the features, not the flaws, helps the buyers mentally move in, and it shows better. So just those 5 reasons alone are one of the reasons why there's a lot of value in decluttering before listing. Now, I'm not saying, guys, get rid of everything, because you want to make the house look like it's homey, right, that it's lived in. But a lot of people collect a lot of stuff over the years, right? We've lived here since we've lived here 15 years. We got a lot of crap, right? You just collect. So you got to think about that before you list. And when we're talking about curbside appeal, there's really 4 reasons why you want curbside appeal, right? First impressions are everything, guys. Before, somebody's driving by, they see a house on a sign on the lawn, they may ask their buyer broker, "Hey, can you tell me about this house?" Now, in today's day and age, most homes are found online, right? Everything's online, but most buyers are going to make an opinion of your property from the outside within 7 seconds. Those are the statistics, guys, within seconds. And a well-maintained exterior builds interest before they step inside, right? It really does. Have you ever seen a house where it's beautiful outside and then you step inside and it's cluttering, you're like, or vice versa, where it's so nice inside, everything's new appliances, new kitchen, new baths, but the outside is a horror show? I mean, if you even got to the inside, going through the outside, you're going to have that stigmatism in your brain, right? You just are, right? So sellers, curbside appeal is important. And obviously with curbside appeal, you're going to get more showings. More showings means more offers. It's just like being in baseball. The more times you get at bat, the better chances you're going to have of getting a hit, right? More showings, more offers. And then you're going to have faster sales and better offers, right? Because people are going to they can envision living there. So number 3, declutter and have good curbside appeal. Number 4, I'm just going to say it. Sellers, do not, I'm going to repeat again, do not, whatever agent you hire, do not let them take their own photography unless they are professional photographers and they have a business in photography. You need professional photography, number 1. And number 2, what does professional photography mean? Now, let me explain to you what professional photography is. It isn't an agent coming in with their newest iPhone or Android and taking pictures. Because while the phones have gotten a lot better, you need professional photography that agent should be paying for to sell your house. And as I said this earlier, 90% of the buying process for buyers start online. So you want photography that represents in the best light your home, right? First showings are very important. First impressions are very important. You want eye-catching, high-quality images that lead to more clicks, leads to more interest, more in-person showings, right? First impressions happen online. That's one reason why you want professional photography. Number 2, higher perceived value. Professional photographed homes look brighter, more spacious, and more polished. It is what it is. They stand out from the competition and they justify asking a higher price. They sell faster. Professional photography sells faster. Which means there's more money in your pocket. I don't know if you knew this, but here's a statistic that I just, according to studies, homes with professional photos sell $3,000 to $11,000 more than on an average compared to those without. So think about this, guys. Let's say you have a listing agent and they want they want to sell your house and they want a 3 to 3.5% commission, and you beat them down. You beat them down to 2.5 or 3. Let's say you beat them down a 0.5 point, right? You say, I'll let you have the listing if you sell it for 0.5 point less than what you're asking, or 0.5%, right? So let's say you have a $500,000 house and they want 3%, which would cost you $15,000 on a 3% commission to the listing agent. We're not talking about a buyer commission right now. We're just talking to the listing agent. And you beat them down 2.5%, right? So that's $2,500. And then they skimp out on don't skimp out, they'll still do the photography, but it may not be as high end as you thought it should be. And your house sells somewhere between $3,000 and $11,000 less than it would have if you didn't skimp out on that 0.5% of commission. Well, for me, if I say I want 3% or 3.5%, I'm going to explain to you where those costs are going to, but you're going to want to have higher end photography because statistics show $3,000 to $11,000 higher value that you get for your house. So on a $500,000 house, if you pay that 0.5 point, that's going to cost you $2,500 more, but you're going to gain in value at a minimum $500 because you're going to sell your house for $3,000 more than you would have without that photography, or up to $11,000. So really, because that comes out of the listing agent's pocket before they sell your home, they're going to try to save costs as much as possible. Now, the other way you can do it is the listing agent can ask you to pay for the photography separately if you want to beat them down on commission. And I've done that too. Like, listen, you only want me to sell this house for 2.5%. 20% of that goes to taxes. I got costs. I got all that. And, when you really calculate it all down, you don't make as much money as you think sellers think or people think agents make. But if you want to invest in some of the photography up front, then sure, makes sense, right? But understand, sells faster and there's more money in your pocket. That was number 4. Number 5, tells a story about your home, not just a snapshot. Skilled photographers knows how to capture the flow of a home using lighting, angles, the composition to highlight key features, just the way the house is structured. And it creates a strong visual narrative that draws buyers and encourages offers. The value of having professional photography. That's number 5. Number 6, maximizes your marketing reach. Professional photos look better on the MLS, not just on social media, real estate websites and printed material and video tours. They just look professional all over the place. And in this day and age, when 90% of stuff goes online first, you want the best representation as you can get. In a crowded market space, better visuals, better results. The reality is, guys, when you can stimulate, I'm going to say this in the front of your head, it's called broke eye. It's a frontal lobe in your brain. When you can stimulate that, you can stimulate that for buyers, through visual effects, it's going to add more value to your home. Now, be careful because the photography has gotten so good and AI is really exacerbating this issue. Do not let them represent something that's not there or something that is so enhanced that it's really not what they're going to see when they walk in. It used to be that people needed professional photography because the cameras and all that weren't that good. And then they're not going to be as good as professional photography, especially drone videos and stuff like that. And if you have a higher end home, right, you're going to want video because video really sells, really tells a story. But video is not cheap. But be careful because some homes, the photography is so done up, so good that it actually, when buyers get there, they're like, wow, this is not what I've seen online. And then they think you're trying to hide something because you put so much makeup on your house that it really doesn't reflect what your house is what it truly looks like with the natural eye when they see it. That's number 4, guys. And the 5th reason why houses get reduced, why listings are getting reduced, why 82.9%, almost 83% of homes are selling for less than they were listed for. The number 5 reason is your agent or whoever you've contracted in the past doesn't understand the lending in the contracts. Guys, I put 5 reasons why it's important to select the right agent, right? Number 1, not all offers are equal, right? The highest price isn't always the best offer. At first glance, it may look like the best offer, but it isn't always the best offer. Your agent should be able to evaluate the financing type, whether it's a conventional loan, whether it's an FHA loan, whether it's a VA loan, whether it's a rural development loan, whether it's cash, right? They should be able to do that for you. They should be able to determine the strength of the buyer. Pre-approval versus pre-qualification. I'll get into that in a minute. They should be able to understand the inspection contingencies. They should be able to show you or help mitigate appraisal risk, right? They should have that information for the appraisers. And they should be able to understand closing timelines, right? Because time is money. Getting back to pre-approvals versus pre-qualifications, I'm amazed how many agents that sell homes don't do this, right? They get an offer and it comes with a pre-qualification letter, and the offer is submitted. And let's say it's at asking or a little bit over asking. Sure, it may have a contingency period and an appraisal period, but they don't call the lender of the buyer, right? So on that pre-qualification letter, there's going to have a lender listed. They don't call them. They don't ask them simple questions like this. Hey, my name is Scott Tebow. I'm an agent representing my client who lives at 123 Main Street. And I have an offer here from a buyer who's stating that you are their lender because they see it in a pre-qualification letter. And I just want to double check some facts. They're approved for a conventional loan. They're putting 90%, 10% down, 90%. They're making an offer for this property at $610,000. When was the last time you talked to that buyer, or how do those numbers, have they talked to you about those numbers? Guys, I can't tell you how many times I've heard this story. Well, Scott, yes, they are our client, but we've only done a pre-qualification on them. We haven't dug into their income or anything like that. They went online, put in some numbers. We said based upon their numbers, yes, they could pre-qualify up to a certain amount, but we haven't done income verification, job verification. We haven't done any of that. We just looked at their FICO score and the information they filled out online, and we figured based upon that kind of cursory information, they pre-qualify at this amount. What you really want to be as an agent really needs is for you as a seller is a pre-approval letter. And even if you have a pre-approval letter, you still want to know from the lender when was the last time any of their information was looked into, right? I've had pre-approval letters where I've called the lender and they said, when was the last time you spoke to this client, the client that's making an offer on my listing? And they're like, yeah, we haven't spoken to them in like 4 months. We believe all the data is good, but based upon, we did this 4 months ago, their pre-approval letter probably isn't, we're going to have to go and verify this information again. And then I asked them a simple question, well, why did you give them a pre-approval letter for so long? And I've had this happen a few times. They said, well, what's the date on the pre-approval letter? I'm like, I don't know, make up a date, February 5th, and it's 90 days later. And they say the pre-approval letter was good for 120 days. Well, sometimes, guys, lenders make the pre-approval letter editable, which means sometimes not the lender, but the agent, and they shouldn't be doing this, but I've had it happen to me, changes the letter time frame to make it longer, making the pre-approval stand out further. Sometimes that has happened. So all I'm trying to say, guys, is you got to understand the type of loan that's being offered, and you got to have a conversation with the lender, and your listing agent should have that conversation with the lender before you decide whether you're going to accept that offer or not, right? So, because they got to be able to evaluate all that stuff. That's number one. Number two, Lending knowledge prevents surprises, right? They're going to understand each loan has a different property owner requirements like FHA and USDA or VA or RD. They are really strict on inspections, right? They're going to do an inspection as well to verify, because it's generally either, anywhere from 97.5% down, 96.5% down on FHA, 3.5%. 96.5% being financed, 3.5% down, or VA and RDs is 100%, right? So there's more risk to the seller, especially if they didn't do a pre inspection, that loan may not close, because those loans are going to require some things to get fixed, and you may not be able to fix them. So the lender should know. The listing agent should know, no surprising types of the loans they are. And a shop agent will flag potential issues early and guide you in choosing the offer that actually makes the most sense. So as a listing agent, it's one thing, guys. It really is to get your house under contract. It's actually not hard to get your house under contract if your house is priced right. It's another thing to getting it to close. It's a very different discipline to trying to getting it to close. So a good listing agent's gonna understand the different lending vehicles out there, the different types of loans, and the different things that are written in the purchase and sale, which is number 3. Contracts are legal documents, right? One overlooked clause can cost you time and money, or even the deal, right? One overlooked clause in the contract. So your agent should be able to explain what your responsibilities are, disclosures, timelines, right? What happens if the buyer defaults or the appraisal comes in low? How to protect your interest in negotiating during the escrow amount, right? So most people are going to put in earnest money, right? How much earnest money are they going to put in, right? How to negotiate. Should you get that earnest money if the buyer defaults and it's no fault of yours? In other words, it's not based upon contingency of an inspection or even an appraisal process of buying. You got to protect your assets, because you've taken that house off the market hoping this buyer will buy it, and then they don't, right? So you got to understand that. And better representation, understanding that stuff, fewer headaches. The last thing any seller wants is to deal with headaches. Why did they hire an agent in the first place, right? They're hiring that agent based upon a bunch of things. They're thinking they have not product knowledge, right? They think they have market knowledge. When I say product, they understand the home. They have market knowledge, understand what they're trying to sell, where they're trying to sell it, time frames, what other like properties have sold, and they understand the contracts and the lending laws and all that. And they want as a smooth transition as possible, right? Now, not every transaction is a disaster. I'm not going to say that, but you're going to want smooth transactions, especially if you're going to pay 3.5% for your listing, right? So they also want to understand how to structure counter offers, with the buyer. So a buyer comes and you really like the buyer's offer, but maybe there's some things that you don't like and you want to counter, right? How do you do that? How do you do that tactfully, right? You do that through your listing agent, and your listing agent's got to work with the buyer agent. The buyer, they got to work together, right? And they both got to be able to articulate to both sides of the equation the value of this counter offer, so without having you emotionally involved in the middle. And peace of mind from start to close, right? The more experienced agents that you hire, the ones that really understand the market, the ones that can do pricing strategies, the ones that understand the value of pre-inspections, the ones that understand the value of decluttering or curbside appeal, or maybe can do some minor staging themselves. The ones that understand the value of online marketing and professional photos and stuff like that are going to win the game. Those are the type of agents, guys, that you should hire. They really are, because at the end of the day, a good agent is going to pay for themselves. You're going to pay for the commission, but they're going to cover that commission by the services that they provide. No doubt about it, right? You can go cheap. You can find agents that haven't done that much or new to the industry, and they're willing, because they're more desperate, willing to offer less of a percentage for you to get your house on the market. But it's not just about getting your house on the market. It's not just about getting it under contract, guys. It's about getting it to close. And especially in today's day and age, which I'm seeing a lot, you're seeing a lot of sellers that are subject twos, right? Which means they're trying to buy another home. Maybe this is you. You're trying to buy another home and you got to sell your home first. And you have a timeline that the other home seller has given you. Like you got 2 weeks or 3 weeks to get your house under contract, right? And what happens if that doesn't happen? Do you lose your earnest money? Do you lose the deal? Does somebody else get the deal, right? And then you're back to square one, and then you get your house under contract, but you got no place to go. So it's really important, guys, to make sure that you understand the contracts, the pre-approval process, the pre-qualification process, doing pre-inspections, the value, the money, all that stuff. And I'm going to leave you this. If you're a seller, don't just hire someone who can list your home. Hire someone who understands how to close the deal legally, financially, and strategically. That's what you want at the end of the day. You want is the least amount of challenges that you're going to get. And again, these 5 things are the top 5 things I see sellers always challenged with. And the numbers bear out, right? 82%, 83% of homes sold for less than what they originally listed for. And you know what happens when you start doing price reductions? I'm going to leave you with this. I think you know what happens, right? Your home becomes stale. And think about if you're in a grocery store, you're going to buy, let's say you're going to buy steak. Maybe you will. You're going to buy a steak that says $2 off, must sell today, right? Because it's going to get stale, it's going to get rotten, right? It's the perception that there's something wrong with the house, right? It could be overpriced or it could be a material defect, but the longer your house sits on the market, the harder it is to sell because it's in the buyer's eye becoming stale, and they're automatically thinking, what's wrong with the house? That is why you see a lot of open houses as soon as the house becomes on the market, because that's when you have the most interest and you're going to attract the most people because it's new, right? So they want to see the home. There may be something there. But if you get through an open house couple weekends and you don't have offers and you have very little activity, what's the listing agent going to have to do? They're going to have to convince you that they got to reduce the price, because what else do they have to offer? Price is the only thing you got to offer, unless you're going to make some material changes to your home to really improve it, to have them remarket it, right? So doing all that in the beginning, I'm telling you guys, it comes back to you by buyers willing to offer more than the asking price, versus not doing that and having buyers try to reach for a price that they really can't justify to begin with, and finding all the reasons why they shouldn't be offering that or offering you a lowball price. All right. Hope this information was helpful, guys. If you want to know about a certain county, just let me know, and I will send you the same statistics that I just did for York County, number of houses on the market right now, and how many of them have had price reductions, and then how many houses have sold, and how many of them sold for less than what the original asking price was. And also, video tells a lot of stories, right? So if you want, I'm not going to put this on this taping, on this recording, but if you want an example of selling your house via video, I'll send you one. So I had friends that live up in Aroostook County. It was not my territory. I told them I couldn't do them justice, but I said, let me put you in contact with one of my team members who covers that area, and we'll talk about video, and I'll have them do video for you. And sure enough, after dealing with a different agency for a different company for over a year, and they didn't come to me because they knew I didn't handle that territory, but they finally said, what do you recommend? What can you do? And I said, listen, cancel that listing. It's already expired. Come over here, come to EXP. We'll help you. I won't be doing it personally, but I will stay involved, and we're going to have a different approach, and video is that approach. If you're interested in that video, let me know. I'll send it to you. It was friends of mine up in, it's already sold, right? But up in Portage, Maine, which is way up in Aroostook County. They built a nice cabin home. They go up there, going up there every summer, fishing and hunting and all that. But they're older now. You know, all their friends are kind of gone now or not up there anymore. And there's a long commute from where they were living down here in Southern Maine every weekend. She's still a school teacher. He's retired. But so we did video, and their house got under contract and sold like 3 months after being on the market for over a year and a half and very little activity. So that goes to professional marketing and video and professional photography and that and stuff like that. But telling the tale of your house really goes a long ways too. And one thing that I encourage, especially in the higher price homes, is, and you've lived there, is interviewing you as a seller and just asking you basic questions like, why'd you buy this house, or why'd you build it? How long you've lived here? What do you like about the house? What do you like about the neighborhood? Making it feel real and alive. Those things go a long ways. But if you're interested in that video, just let me know, guys, and I'll send you a link. I have it private on the YouTube channel, so you can't search it without a link to it. Anyways, I hope this information was helpful, guys. My job is just to try to help educate you on what it's like to be a seller in this market right now and the things you should be looking at in this example. And we get calls, text, emails all the time, guys, from people just like you. We work with a lot of people. As I said, I only work with like 20 to 25 to 30, but my team, we work with quite a few buyers and sellers. I can't work with them all, so I farm them out to my team and some of our agents here at EXP that I share those activities with. So if you're interested, drop me a line, send me a text, send me an email. We can book a Zoom call, and we can talk about your next steps, see if it's a good fit. If it isn't, nothing venture, nothing gain, and we'll go from there. Guys, I hope this is, again, helpful. Have a fantastic June 16th, I think it is. Have a fantastic time and stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon. Scott Tebow over and out. Bye-bye.